Man, that's an interesting shot of Mike Pence. It is easy to forget that Mike Pence is sort of like technically in charge of the coronavirus response the federal government has. I'm sure that from time to time he forgets that, but he is. And he has ever so rarely popped up to give us an update on how it's going. And did you know that today is actually an anniversary, an important anniversary of one of those times that he actually came out of his hole in the ground? 6 months ago, he published an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. And here it is. There isn't a coronavirus second wave, he said, the head of the coronavirus task force. That was insane then. But also, we knew looking ahead that especially because of the strategy that they were pursuing and encouraging people to get out there and get sick, that a lot more people were gonna get sick. So that was June 16th, okay? And in that, he closes his op-ed saying, the media has tried to scare the American people every step of the way, and these grim predictions of a second wave are no different. The truth is, whatever the media says, our whole of America approach has been a success. We've slowed the spread. We've cared for the most vulnerable. We've saved lives. And we've created a solid foundation for whatever challenges we may face in the future. That's a cause for celebration, not the media's fear mongering. And he's right, like with 6 months of context now, I really do have to apologize because I remember back then as now, I was doing like daily updates on how bad it was and how many people were getting sick. And we were showing you the way the media was misinforming people about the pandemic. And we should have realized at that point, June 16th, what did we lost maybe 100,000 people at that point, that it couldn't get any worse. And then it did, of course. We've lost hundreds of thousands of additional people. And on this 6-month anniversary, I wanted to give you one more update. COVID Tracking Project, this is yesterday's report from them. We had 3,400 deaths reported in one day. Almost 250,000 cases in one day. And well over 100,000 people who are currently hospitalized with COVID around the country. In a time that, call it whatever you want, but it clearly isn't a second wave because that was just media fear mongering.
There's a word in Spanish that it's sinvergüenza, and it means without shame. And for someone who claims to be a Christian and following a Christ-like life, he is shameless. He is holding on to this power. He is kissing the ass of Donald Trump. It is for the amount of people that this man is willing to let die, it just shows the level that he is a sinvergüenza. I've actually heard that Pence is going to get into real estate, just like Trump. He and his wife, who he affectionately refers to as mother, are looking into buying an old motel up in Oregon. I think it's called the Bates Motel, where they're going to live, and they're going to continue the process of just murdering as many people as they can. I don't know if you've seen that article.
I think I saw a movie based on the article. Actually, that would be an improvement because a lot fewer people would die if he was butchering them in showers. Yeah, and so look, he was wrong, and he was part of a government that at that point had already made a ton of wrong decisions and was misinforming people and was encouraging people to do the things that would get many people killed. And so it's one thing to be wrong. Like we've criticized, like members of the media for their terrible predictions about how this would go. That's one thing. Members of the media only have so much ability individually, unless they have audiences of millions to really influence this thing. Like if I have a bad prediction, okay, you can laugh at me. I'm not like determining the course of America's public health. But Pence was in charge. He could have done something. And so this isn't just being wrong about what happened. His advocacy, his actions and lack of actions led to this result. It led to us being in a position where the coronavirus task force, which again, remember, he's in charge of, had this to say very recently: this surge is the most rapid increase in cases, the widest spread of intense transmission, with more than 2,000 counties in COVID red zones, and the longest duration of rapid increase, now entering its 8th week that we have experienced. Despite the severity of this surge and the threat to the hospital systems, many state and local governments are not implementing the same mitigation policies that stem the tide of the summer surge that must happen now. And ask yourself, why are they not? Why is it that even though things today are worse than they've ever been in the pandemic, why are we doing far less than we had earlier? Well, you can chalk it up to Mike Pence and people like Mike Pence, who have scared people and governments into thinking that any sort of action is against the Constitution or it's anti-American or whatever. Or they're just afraid of being criticized by Donald Trump. They're afraid of being threatened by their constituents. There was a Republican mayor in Kansas who just stepped down this week from her position because she approved of mask mandates that the city council had passed. It wasn't even her that did it. She just approved of it. And she and her family experienced so many threats that she gave up her position as mayor. That is how you get to this position. It's not just wrong, it's causal. They led to this surge. And yet somehow, each of these deaths, it's nobody's fault. Another 100,000 people could and probably will die in the next couple of months, and it's nobody's fault. Nobody's going to jail. They've barely lost their jobs. That's the most accountability we have, is that Mike Pence is gonna have to go into real estate.
I mean, this is the equivalent of an engineer saying that the Golden Gate Bridge is going to collapse. It's very expensive to demolish it. And someone like Mike Pence goes, well, we should just let as many people cross it as possible. And then the weight of it will just self-collapse. And then that'll take care of the problem. He's the head of a coronavirus task force, but all he's doing is saying, hey, you're all gonna die, but not really, but you might. How can they sit back and do nothing?
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.